But we are very fruitful. We have to have patience, utsaha, nishchayat, and dharyat. Utsaha is the enthusiasm. In every field, to achieve any success, we need to have enthusiasm. We need to have self-belief. But backed with enthusiasm, we should be very determined, because there will be tests, there will be struggles, there will be impediments. So we have to be determined. And we have to be patient, because it will take time. So before I begin, I want to share one verse which Kaviraj Goswami is mentioning, that what is the result of hearing and assimilating the Chaitanya Leela. This is from the first chapter itself in the Ādi Leela. This is verse number 106. So Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami is benedicting his readers. He says, Sunile khandi bechitter agyan adi dosh Krishna gada prema hobe paiba santosh. So whoever is hearing with heart, and what to see, that those who are hearing with heart, they are writing also, they are sharing also. Their consciousness is completely immersed in trying to assimilate the Chaitanya Leela. So Kaviraj Goswami says, Sunile, by hearing, what will happen? Khandive chittera agyan adi dosh. So whatever ignorance is there deep down in our heart, that ignorance will be removed, completely removed forever. This is the first benefit which Kaviraj Goswami is saying. That is also still not significant for devotees. What is more significant for devotees is the next line, where he is very profusely blessing everyone. He is saying, Krishna grad prema hobe. So very shortly, one will achieve deep love for Krishna. All of us, those who are practicing, they have one aspiration. What is the aspiration of devotees who are practicing devotional service or devotional path? Is to develop love for Krishna. And Kaviraj is blessing here. He is saying, Krishna gad prema hobe and paiba santosh. Not only, and he will be very satisfied. He will be most satisfied. This is the path of peace. Simply hearing submissively will free one's heart from all the faults of ignorance. All the anarthas will be removed, will be smashed to dust. And thus one will achieve deep love for Krishna. This is the path of peace. Further he says, Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta Advaita Mahatva Tara Bhakta Bhakti Nama Prema Rasa Tattva Bhina Bhina Likhi Ache Kariya Vichar Sunile Janiba Sab Vastu Tattva Sar. So what is Caitanya-caritāmṛta? Caitanya-caritāmṛta is glorification of Lord Chaitanya Mahāprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, Advait Prabhu and their associates, their servants. Tara Bhakta and their devotees. So further, Kaviraj Goswami says, if one patiently hear about the glories of Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu, Śrī Nityananda Prabhu and Śrī Advait Prabhu and their devotees, devotional activities, name and fame. One moment. मैं सुरभि जी क्लास ले रहा हूँ, वो जरूरी बात है. हाँ, आप रुद्र प्रभु को फोन कर दीजिए. आपके पास नंबर है? हाँ, मैं कर देता हूँ. ओके. Sorry. So one will learn the essence of the absolute truth. One does not have to seek any other scripture or any other path or any other process. Caitanya-caritāmṛta with logic and discrimination. So this is great merit. There is no merit which is higher than this merit. As of now, maybe we are not able to assimilate or appreciate, but it will not matter. What will matter is how we are aligning our efforts, our mind, our intelligence, and most importantly, our heart. To the extent we are attempting to do that, we will receive the reciprocation from the Supreme Lord. And believe me, it will come when we will require it the most. At that time of our life, we will see the difference. We will see the hand of Krishna in our life. How he reciprocates. He reciprocates very mystically, not on our terms. Krishna Bhakti is never to be done on our terms. Krishna Bhakti is to be done on Krishna's term. But we are not tuned to dancing to his tune. But by hearing and sharing and writing and reading, what we are doing, we are signing a contract with Krishna that yes, I am interested. Please change me. Please transform me. So there is no greater merit than this. In our classes, there won't be masala. You understand masala, na? There won't be any masala, but there will be tattva. We will receive the reciprocation. As we have seen, we are seeing how Krishna is so kind, how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so kind. So we will begin further from the 17th chapter, 51 verse, just one moment. In the outside world, people have to work so hard. This is one, young lady entrepreneur. She runs a unit. She runs a unit in Faridabad. She has 2 kids. She also has a husband. She went to the factory to get, tomorrow is the Ekadashi. So I buy Ekadashi stuff from her only because her unit is quite, safe. I have seen the unit. But it is night time. She has come herself down. People will not do bhakti. In the material life, they will do all the hard work, all the ass work, but they're not inclined to do bhakti. But we are very fortunate. We are so fortunate that we have this opportunity. One of you can lead the Mangala Charan. Swanika Mata, you lead, you do the Mangala Charan. Unmute, please unmute.
Sorry, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Om Agyantimirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Śrī Caitanya-manoਭीष्टं Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapnadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagan Raghunathanvitam tam sajivam sadvaitam savadutam parijan sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagan Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine, Namaste Saraswate Devi, Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi, Pashatya Deshatarine. Jaya Jaya Shri.
Yeah, continue. Please continue.
Jaya Jaya Śrī Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Śrī Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Śrī Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Thank you. Thank you, Sonika. So yesterday we saw, particularly in Shiva Sangan, that there was one very envious Brahmana named Gopal Chappal. Kindly don't mention the name Gopala. You please mention Gopal Chappal, because Gopal will give a wrong reflection. Did I share Manish Prabhu's write-up with all of you today? I think I have. Manish Prabhu? So kindly write the name, full name, because there are so many Gopal. So we will get confused. We are not very thorough with the Chaitanya Leela. So this Gopal Chappal, he was very envious when he could not tolerate the fame of Srivas. And what he did, you all know, he tried to defame him by trying to expose him in a way that he is not a Vaishnava, he is a worshipper of Shakti, Durga. So when he attempts that, he is inflicted with leprosy. And because of the leprosy, he is in great pain. He is in great suffering state. And in that suffering state, he approaches Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very, very angry with him. And Mahaprabhu tells him, this is the verse we recited yesterday, this payar. Eta suni Mahaprabhur khoila krudman, Roda veshe bole tara tarjana vachan. Hearing this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared greatly angry, and in that angry mood, he spoke some words chastising him. So now we'll continue from 51st payar. These are not called the verses or the shlokas, because these are payar. These are Bengali payars. And once Prabhupada was asked by some of the American disciples that Srila Prabhupada, Swamiji, which is the sweetest of all the Bengali sweets? There are so many Bengali sweets which are very famous. Bengali Rasgulla, Bengali Sandesh, and so many more. But Prabhupada said that the sweetest of all Bengali sweets is Caitanya-caritāmṛta. If we have that delectable taste, we can experience that. So it is payars. It is very, very sweet composition by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. In the 51st verse, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is exhibiting his anger. He says, Are papi bhakta dveshi tore na udharimu koti janma ei mata kirae khayaimu. So Mahaprabhu is so much angry with him. Mahaprabhu is so much in distaste with him, to the extent that he is the most merciful incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Still, he says, O sinful person, envious of pure devotees, I shall not deliver you. What is the purpose of his coming is Patita Pavana Hetu Tave Avatar. But here he is refusing. I shall have you bitten by these germs for many millions of years. So that means the Lord is very possessive of his devotees. If anyone does any mischief with his devotees, the Lord will not tolerate. This is a very important principle. We should always keep this in mind. We see in the battle of Kurukshetra, Krishna took a vow that he will never ever use any weapon, or he will not fight with anyone on the opposite side. So Duryodhana thought that what is the use of having Krishna? Anyway, he will not fight. So he opted for Narayani Seva, Narayani Sena. But in the war, when Bhishma Dev took a vow to kill the Pandavas, and when he was fighting with full rage, and he was attacking Arjuna, and it seemed as if that Arjuna might lose. And with the flurry of Bhishma's arrow, Arjuna was wounded, and it was looking as if today Arjuna will be killed by the sharp arrows of Bhishma. What Krishna did? Krishna immediately left the chariot. He pulled the wheel out of the chariot and he charged towards Bhishma Dev running. He made the wheel of the chariot work like his disc, and he wanted to immediately slay Bhishma Dev. And Arjuna is he's dragging the feet of Krishna and reminding him that, my dear Lord, you have taken a vow. You have already committed that you will not fight. You will not attack anyone. But Krishna is not hearing what Arjuna is speaking. Why? Because he cannot just tolerate. He cannot see that his devotee is being disturbed or is being distressed. So Prabhupada says we should note herein that all our sufferings in this material world, especially from disease, are due to our past sinful activities. And of all sinful activities, action directed against a pure devotee out of sheer envy are considered extremely severe. Śrī Caitanya-Mahaprabhu wanted Gopal Chapal to understand the cause of his suffering. Any person who disturbs the pure devotee engaged in broadcasting the holy name of the Lord is certainly punished like Gopal Chapal. Prabhupada is giving a warning to all of us. This is the instruction of Śrī Caitanya-Mahaprabhu. As we shall see, one who offends the pure devotee can never satisfy Chaitanya Mahaprabhu unless and until he sincerely regrets his offense and thus rectifies it. It's a very important principle. Three of you have written about it. Shrivasha karila tui bhavani pujana koti janma hobe tora rarava patana. You have made Shrivas Thakur appear to have been worshipping the goddess Bhavani. Simply for this offense, you will have to fall down into hellish life for 10 million births. This is the punishment or curse being given by Lord Chaitanya. There's a broad principle. We should never ever get into any such conflict with Vaishnava. I remember many years back. It may happen in our devotional practice, in our experiences, that sometimes we deal with some devotee, and it may seem that the devotee has not been fair. He has taken undue advantage of our trust or of our confidence in him. And what we feel? We feel bitten, we feel cheated, and we want to reply back. But always try to avoid that. Never ever try to settle a score. You understand what I'm meaning now? Don't try to settle a score. I did that in my early part of my life. I took something and it was not what was promised. So my senior told me, forget it. Forget it. Just leave it. Otherwise, we do not know how dear he is to Krishna. And what offense Krishna will consider it. So better in devotee dealing, the safest way is to take a humble position. Accept that the other is right and I am wrong. And try to avoid as far as possible any conflict-like situation. This is the most safest thing. Otherwise, the consequence is very grave. Very grave. So that is why Srila Prabhupada stopped giving translation to Srimad Bhagavatam when he gave Chaitanya Charitamrita. He did not give Chaitanya Bhagavat. He gave Chaitanya Charitamrita because Chaitanya Charitamrita is filled with principles, with Siddhanta. So here Mahaprabhu is saying that you made Shrivas appear to be worshipping the goddess Bhavani. Simply for this offense, you will have to fall down into hellish life for 10 million births. There are many tantric followers who, wishing to eat meat and drink wine, practice the black art of worshipping the goddess Bhavani in a crematorium. Such fool also consider this Bhavani Puja to be as good as worship of Lord Krishna in devotional service. But such abominable tantric activities performed by so-called Swamis and Yogis are herein condemned by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He declares that such Bhavani Puja for drinking wine and eating meat quickly plunges one into hellish life. The method of worship itself is already hellish, and its results must also be hellish and nothing more. Many rascals say that whatever way one accepts, one will ultimately reach Brahman. Yet we can see from this verse how such persons reach Brahman. Brahman spreads everywhere, but appreciation of Brahman in different objects lead to different results. In Bhagavad Gita 4:11, the Lord says, Ye yatham mam prapadyante tam tatheva bhajamiham. I reward everyone according to his surrender unto me. Mayavadis certainly realize Brahman in certain aspects, but realization of Brahman in the aspect of wine, woman, and meat is not the same realization of Brahman that devotees achieve by chanting, dancing, and eating prasad. Why Prabhupada is clarifying? Because most of us in the neophyte stage, what we do, we are easily susceptible. Others who are not following the pure path, they may try to induce us, but we should not fall victim of it. We should know what is the principle. Nothing else can be compared to the path of devotional practice as it is given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What to speak of the demigod worship, and what to speak of worship of Durga and Kali. But although Krishna is everywhere, by his inconceivable potency, he is simultaneously not everywhere. Thus, the Brahman realization of the Tantric cult is not the same Brahman realization as that of a pure devotees. Unless one reaches the highest point of Brahman realization, Krishna consciousness, he is punishable. All people except Krishna conscious devotees are to some proportion Pashandis. Pashandis, you understand? Atheist, non-believer in the Supreme Lord. So if one is not worshipping the Supreme Lord directly, Prabhupada is saying here, all people except Krishna conscious devotees are to some proportion Pashandis or demons. There is a one verse, very heavy verse by Kaviraj Goswami in the Caitanya-caritāmṛta Ādi Leela only. He says one who is not worshipping Krishna directly, he is a demon. And thus they are punishable by the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, as stated below. Let us see. Pashandi samharite mora ei avatar. Pashandi samari bhakti karimu prachar. So Pashandi is, both meanings are given here. It is demons. Prabhupada is giving the first meaning as demon. Normally it is considered as atheist, but atheists are demons. So Prabhupada gives the higher degree of the nomenclature. He is not satisfied with atheist, he is calling them demons. So I have appeared in this incarnation to kill the demons, Pashandis. How? By converting them, delivering them. And after killing them, to preach the cult of devotional service. One moment. Lord Chaitanya's mission is the same, that of Lord Krishna, which states in Bhagavad Gita 4.7 and 8. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir-bhavati bharata abhiyutthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamiham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Whenever and wherever there is decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself in order to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the principles of religions. I advent myself millennium after millennium. It's very popular verse. We have discussed it so many times. As explained here, the real purpose of an incarnation of God is to kill the atheist and maintain the devotees. He does not say, like so many rascal incarnations, that atheists and devotees are on the same platform. Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu or Lord Shri Krishna, the real personality of Godhead, does not advocate such an idea. Atheists are punishable, whereas devotees are to be protected. To maintain this principle is the mission of all avatars or incarnation. One must therefore identify an incarnation by his activities, not by popular votes or mental concoctions. Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu gave protection to devotees and killed many demons in the course of his preaching work. He did not physically kill. He killed their demonic mentality. He transformed their hearts. He specifically mentioned that the Mayavadi philosophers are the greatest demons. Therefore, he warned all others not to hear the Mayavadi philosophy. Mayavadi bhashya shunile hoy sarvanash. Simply by hearing the Mayavadi interpretation of the Shastras, one is doomed. Very, very dangerous. So we should only hear from those who are authorized and who are coming in parampara, not from anyone else. Because if we hear for someone who in his heart, he does not have the conviction and the complete understanding of who the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so what he will inflict Mayavad. And Mahaprabhu is warning that Mayavad bhashya shunile hoy sarvanash. What is the nash? What is the nash in hearing? There are so many reciters of Srimad Bhagavatam. They recite from Srimad Bhagavatam. But they are not devotees. They are Mayavadis. And what nash will they do? Although they are reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada has been very heavy on them. More so of the professional reciters who charge money to recite Srimad Bhagavatam. And that is a fashion now. Even if you go to Vrindavan, there will be many places where there will be a Srimad Bhagavatam week, Saptaha. People come from all parts of India. I know in particularly the business community people. They have this and they will spend crores of rupees there. But not even one soul will receive any reciprocation from the Lord. Why? Because they are all Mayavad or Chanda in their heart. So why is it so dangerous? Anyone knows? Why Mayavad bhashya shunile hoy sarvanash? What is the nash which happens even if one hears Krishna Katha from Mayavadi, who is not a devotee? Why Mahaprabhu is so heavy? Why is he saying that one should not hear? Purushottam, you are hearing? Don't go to anyone who is reciting Srimad Bhagavatam or Krishna Katha in Vrindavan.
Yes, bro, I'm not going.
Even Sanatan Goswami also very heavily speaks about it. A Vaishnava Mukhat Girim Putam Hari Kathamritam Shravanam Neva Kartavyam Sarpo Tishta Yathapaya. So what is so very alarming? Why Mahaprabhu has to say that Hoila Sarvanash? First is, what is the understanding of Mayavad? What is Mayavad? How many of you know what is Mayavad? Who have clear conception of what is Mayavad? For many years, I could not understand what is Mayavad. Now, what does Mayavad mean? I cannot claim that I know now, but the seniors have explained to me. So, based on that understanding, I will share with you. You will see in Prabhupada's comment in Mahaprabhu's Leela, so many times the term Mayavad will come or Mayavadis will come. What is Mayavad? Boliye, why everyone is silent? One is waiting for the other to speak. Yes, Dolamani Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, they consider living entity and the Supreme Lord an equal level.
Yes, that is the Tattva Brahma. They are not clear in the Tattva. The difference between the Jiva and the Ishvara. Very good. That is one aspect. More so. Wait, let others participate. Yes, Ganesh Prabhu.
After liberation, they will become one with Supreme. They have this conception, Prabhuji.
Yes, that is the same thing, because they do not consider the tattva to be different. So after liberation, they think that they will become the Supreme. Okay. Going further. Pranab Prabhu.
They do not they consider this material creation as truth. They do not believe in the spiritual existence.
Yes, very good. No, they believe in spiritual existence. They say that Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya. Yeah, they say Brahma Satya and Jagat is Mithya. They consider the material creation to be unreal. The first part you have said is right. But they believe in spiritual existence. That is Brahman. Okay, going further. What is the defect?
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, वो जो भगवान कृष्ण को सुप्रीम पर्सनालिटी ऑफ गॉड नहीं मानते।
हाँ, ठीक है, आपने तो सीधे जंप लगा दिया। और okay, yes, Dipankar.
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, they do not want to become the subordinate of Supreme Lord. They want to be the Supreme.
Yes. The greatest flaw or the fault is that because they do not consider the Supreme Lord to be supreme, they equate the Jiva with Ishvara. Because they have this mentality of equating the Jiva with Ishvara, then there is no question of Jiva being subordinate. So that is why they talk about oneness. And if there is no question of subordination, then there is no question of service. They do not want or they do not accept the Supreme Lord, and they do not accept that the Lord must be rendered service. So if we hear from such people in their heart who are envious, like this Gopal Chappal is envious of Srivas Thakur. And what he's trying to do? He's trying to defame Srivas. So the Mayavadis, they never accept the divine form or the transcendental Sachidanand Roop of the Supreme Lord. They do not accept that. And they do not accept that the Lord is the Supreme and the Jiva is subordinate, and they don't want to render service. So if we hear from these people, in their heart, they have the desire to become the Supreme Lord, what will happen is that wish, that venom which is there in the heart, it will be inflicted in our heart if we hear from them. What we are trying to do through our Acharya, Srila Prabhupada and the previous Acharyas, they are trying to cultivate the sentiment of performing devotional service. So that is the natural occupation of the Jiva. Jivera Sarup Hoy Krishnera Nitya Das. So how that subordination spirit will come? If we serve. But if we hear from Mayavadis, that subordination spirit will never come, rather it will become covered. We will always think that the Supreme and the Self is the same. So that service attitude, that service mentality will never ever manifest. It will remain covered. That is why Mahāprabhu is saying, Mayavadi bhasha shunile hoy sarvanash. Anyone who does not perform service to the Supreme Lord, he is definitely a demon. He is asur. So that is why it is very dangerous. And we will not be able to make out on our own that who is having that conception. Very difficult. Even in Chaitanya Lila, it comes few times. When we will come to the Anta Lila, there was one poet who came and he composed many poetry, and it looked as if he is glorifying Lord Chaitanya and Jagannath, but it was a blasphemy. Swarup Damodar Gosai heard the poetry and chastised him heavily. And then he chastised the devotees also, that without knowing or without having proper understanding, you should not give importance to what others are speaking. So very very dangerous. So we should only hear from the devotees who are coming in parampara and from the acharyas, because in their heart, they are always trying to inflict the attitude to serve the Supreme Lord and his devotees. And if the living entity is able to cultivate this spirit of servitude, of service, then his returning back to the spiritual abode is guaranteed. Nothing else can stop him. So very important, this is the principle. Here it is being mentioned. So Mahāprabhu is considering this Gopal Chaval to be a demon. That is why Prabhupada is saying, simply by hearing the Mayavad interpretation of the Shastras. It can be the same literatures. It can be Bhagavad Gita. It can be Srimad Bhagavatam or even Caitanya-caritāmṛta. One is doomed. Doomed means that his spiritual progress is finished. Eta bali gela Prabhu karite Ganga snan. Sei papi dukh bhoge nayaya paran. After saying this, the Lord left to take his bath in the Ganges. And that sinful man did not give up his life, but continued to suffer. It appears that an offender to a Vaishnava continues to suffer and does not give up his life. We have actually seen that a great Vaishnava Apradi continuously suffered so much that it was difficult for him to move, and yet he did not die. Sannyasa kariya yabe Prabhu nila chala gela tata hoite yabe kuliya grame aila tabe sei papi Prabhu hoila sharana hita upadesha kaila hoya karuna. So sannyas kariya. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, after accepting the renounced order of life, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he went to Jagannath Puri. And then he came back to the village of Kuliya. You know what is Kuliya? Kuliya is the same place which is now Navadip town. When we were crossing the river Ganges from ahead of ISKCON temple, there were two directions that we were crossing. One was that we went to Godrum. You remember? When we first day we went to Godrum, that was through the manual boat. And the distance was very short. So Godrum is still on the eastern side of the Ganges. But Navadip is Koladvip. Remember, no? Navadip is Koladvip. And the distance was long and we were using that launch. So it was called Kuliya. Kuliya means that it is on the other side of the river. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after he took sannyas, he wanted to go to Vrindavan. And Nityananda Prabhu tricked him. And Nityananda Prabhu, instead of making him go towards Vrindavan, he brought him to Shantipur. And in Shantipur, all the devotees headed by Sachi Devi came and they had a amalgamation. They had a milan. After Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas. And there was a treaty between Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sachi Devi. On Sachi Devi's request, he gave up his thought, his idea, his plan of making Vrindavan his headquarters. And he settled at Jagannath Puri. But for the second time, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to go to Vrindavan, he took the route and he went to Ramkeli. And when he went to Ramkeli, he delivered Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. And millions of people were following Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There is a very, very elaborate description of that in Chaitanya Bhagavat. When we go to Jagannath Puri on the Rath Yatra, we will witness what it means. I remember the first instance when I had gone, there is waves of devotees. Because it is so compact. One is entwined with the other, there is hardly any space of air able to pass through. So that situation was there. And Sanatana Goswami, he requested Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and told him that kindly, Gosai, kindly do not go with so many followers, so many people with such a big caravan. Because the Muslims are ruling all over. And they are very envious people. So he thought that some of the soldiers might not harm Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So then Mahaprabhu decides to return. And when he decides to return, he comes to Kulia. That is what is being mentioned. That after taking sannyas, this is for the second attempt, not for the first attempt. First attempt he comes to Shantipur, he does not come to Kulia. But when he goes to Ramkeli, and from Ramkeli when he decides to return, he comes to Kulia. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after accepting the renounced order of life, went to Jagannath Puri and then came back to the village of Kulia. Upon his return, that sinful man took shelter at the Lord's lotus feet. So for so many years, he waited. He waited patiently. The Lord, being merciful to him, gave him instructions for his benefit. So that Kulia is also known as Aprad Bhanjan Kulia. Aprad means sinful acts against the devotees. Bhanjan means to give up. And Kulia is the sthan. Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur in his Anubhashya has given the following note in connection with the village Kulia. The village, originally known as Kulia, has developed into what is now the city of Navadip. In various authorized books like the Bhakti Ratnakar Chaitanya-caritāmṛta, Chaitanya Chandrodaya Natak, and Chaitanya Bhagavat, it is mentioned that the village of Kulia is on the western side of the Ganges. Even now, within the area known as Koladvip, there is a place known as Kuliyara Ganja and a place called Kuliyara Daha, both within the jurisdiction of the present municipality of Navadip. In the time of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the two villages on the western side of the Ganges named Kulia and Pahadapura both belong to the jurisdiction of Bahir Dvipa. At that time, the place of the eastern side of the Ganges, now known as Antardvip, was known as Navadip. At Sri Mayapur, that place is still known as Dvipera Matha. There is another place in the name Kulia near Kanchapada, but that is not the same Kulia mentioned here. It cannot be accepted as Aparad Bhanjena Pada or a place where offences were excused. For that occurred in the above mentioned Kulia. On the western side of the Ganges. For business reasons, many envious persons oppose excavation of real place, and sometimes they advertise unauthorized place as the authorized one. Little technical, but very simple, because the birthplace, which is the Antardvip, it was submerged in water, and the other side of Navadip, which is now the Navadip town, it was visible. So everybody thought that that is the place of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance. So as we all know, that Bhakti Vinod Thakur again re-established it, that what was the original place. So in all, what is being mentioned here, that after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas and he came back to Navadip town, to Koladvip. So this Gopal Chapal was still there. And again he begged forgiveness, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave him this solution. What is the solution Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave? शिवाश पंडित स्थाने आछे अपराध तथा यहाँ तेनो यदि करे न प्रसाद तबे तोरा होइबे पाप विमोचन यदि पुनः आइछे नाही कार अर्चन. You have committed an offense at the lotus feet of Shiva's Thakur. The Lord said, first you must go there and beg for his mercy. And then if he gives you his blessings and do not commit such sins again, you will be freed from this reaction. So this is the principle. That if we knowingly or unknowingly commit any offense to any devotee or a Vaishnava, the first and the foremost thing we have to do is we have to go and beg forgiveness, beg for his mercy, and try to get him satisfied. And if he is satisfied and if he forgives us, not only he forgives us, he gives his blessings. And then Mahāprabhu is warning, and then you do not commit such sins again. Not that we seek forgiveness today and within short days we again repeat the same mistake. No. You will be freed from these reactions. So this is the principle. So in our dealing, wherever we feel, even to the extent if we feel that someone has offended us, Bhakti Brihad Bhagavatam Maharaj, he took a seminar of Vaishnava etiquette when I just joined in. And he was mentioning this. He was saying that even if those who have offended you, you have felt that they have offended you or they have done something wrong against you, if you can go and ask forgiveness, you will advance. Difficult because our false ego does not allow that. But this is very important Vaishnava principle, that if we commit any offense, knowingly or unknowingly, we must seek, the bare minimum is we should immediately seek forgiveness. Not remain adamant or rigid. Tabe vipralailasi Shivasa Sharana Tahara Kripaye Hoila Papa Vimochana. Then the Brahmana Gopal Chapal went to Shiva's Thakur and took shelter of his lotus feet. And by Shiva's Thakur mercy, he was freed from all sinful reactions. And you know who this Gopal Chapal became? This is the great benediction. Even if one is chastised or even if one is punished by a Vaishnava, that is a great blessing. This Gopal Chapal, although Shiva's did not take any revenge, he just forgave him. And not only forgave him, gave his profuse blessings. And this Gopal Chapal, he was so much transformed to see the kind heart of Shiva's Thakur that he became a devotee. He is Vamsi Vadan Thakur. And he has composed many beautiful bhajans. And in that bhajan, he is asking forgiveness not from the devotees who have appeared, but also from the devotees who will appear in future. How much he had transformed. So the devotee is actually a touchstone. What is the quality of the touchstone? That he can transform, he completely transform the heart of even a sinful person. और एक विप्र आइला कीर्तने देखिते. So we are having the discussion on Shiva's Angan. So और एक विप्र आइला कीर्तन देखिते द्वारे कपट ना पाइला भीतरे आईते. Another Brahmana came to see the Kirtan performance at Shiva's Angan, but the door was closed and he could not enter the hall. फिरी गेला विप्र घरे मने दुख पाया और दिन प्रभु के कहे गंगा लाग पाया. So this Brahmana, when he could not get an entry, he returned home with an unhappy mind. But on the next day, he met Lord Chaitanya on the bank of Ganges and spoke to him. Sapipa tomar mui panachi mano dukha paita chindya sape prachanda durmukha. So this Brahmana, he was outraged and he was very much disturbed. He was disturbed to such an extent that he cursed Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That Brahmana was expert in talking harshly and cursing others. Thus he broke his sacred thread and declared, I shall not curse you, for your behavior has greatly aggrieved me. Samsara sukha tomar hoi ke vinash, sapa suni prabhur chitte hoila ullas. So what is the curse he gave? The Brahmana cursed the Lord, saying, you shall be bereft of all material happiness. Sansara sukha tomar hoka vinash. That under any circumstances you will not be able to experience any material happiness. You shall be bereft of all material happiness. And when the Lord heard this, he felt great jubilation within himself. Prabhu re sap varte ye sune shraddhavana Brahman shap hoite tara hoire paritra. And Kaviraj is saying that any faithful person who hears of this Brahmana cursing Lord Chaitanya is delivered from all Brahmanical curses. So if a Brahman tries to threaten you, don't get into defense. Better not to have any conflict with him. But Kaviraj is saying any faithful person who hears of this Brahmana cursing Lord Chaitanya is delivered from all Brahmanical curses. One should know with firm conviction that the Lord, being transcendental, is never subject to any curse or benediction. Only ordinary living entities are subjected to curse and the punishments of Yamaraj. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Śrī Caitanya Mahaprabhu is beyond such punishments and benedictions. When one understands this fact with faith and love, he personally becomes free from all curses uttered by Brahmanas or anyone else. This incident is not mentioned in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Mukunda dattera kaila danda parshada handilata hara chitte risabhavasada. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu blessed Mukund Datta with punishment and in that way vanquished all his mental depression. Mukund Datta is his batchmate, his classmate, his schoolmate, also his soulmate. Mukund Datta was once forbidden to enter the association of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because of his mixing with the Mayavadi impersonalist. So see, this principle is also there. We cannot cheat Mahaprabhu. If we are mixing, then it is very difficult to receive mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He does not allow. When Lord Chaitanya manifested his Mahaprakash, he called all the devotees one after another and blessed them. While Mukunda stood outside the door, the devotees informed the Lord that Mukunda Datta was waiting outside. But the Lord replied, what did he say? What is the word he used? Anyone remembers? We read that. What is the word? What is the term Mahaprabhu used for Mukunda? That is mixing with the Mayavadis. Yes, Dolamani Prabhu?
Prabhuji, Pasandi?
No, Parshandi is a theist. How can a Parshad be a Parshandi? If you have attentively heard, I emphasized on that term. Especially it came for Mukunda. Mahaprabhu during his Mahaprakash, and Mahaprakash Leela happened only one. That Shat Prahariya Leela did not happen every night. One of you have written that for 1 year. No, it was for one. Samvatsara means 1 year. Mahaprabhu performed Kirtan at Shiva's Angan every night for 1 year. And out of that 1 year, he performed the Shat Prahari Leela or Mahaprakash Leela. Yes, Prana Prabhu.
What was it? I didn't hear actually.
Mahaprabhu performed the Sankirtan Leela at the house of Shiva's Thakur Shiva Sangan for 1 full year. But the Shat Prahari Leela happened only one night. The word mentioned for 1 year is Samvatsara. Samvatsara is 1 year. It is not Shat Prahari Leela for 1 year. Got the point?
Yes, please.
So you have to redo that right up. So that is why I have not forwarded it.
Shaktra Prabhuji, 21 hour you said.
Yes, 21 hours, but that was only for one night. That was not every night. Okay, what is that name? You don't remember? Barajatiya. Barajatiya. Remember this term? You forgot that also. I read it, that Mahaprabhu was displeased with Mukunda because he is mixing with Mayavadi. If Mahaprabhu is displeased with Mukunda, then if we are also doing the same, how much Mahaprabhu will be displeased? So here it is being said that Mukundat was forbidden to enter the association of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because of his mixing with the Mayavadi impersonalist. What was the fault? He would sometimes go and listen to their discourse also. When Lord Chaitanya manifested his Mahaprakash, he called all the devotees one after another and blessed them. While Mukunda Datta stood outside the door, the devotees informed the Lord that Mukunda Datta was waiting outside, but the Lord replied, I shall not soon be pleased with Mukunda Datta. For though he explains devotional service among devotees, he then goes to Mayavadis to hear from them. The Yog Vasisht Ramayana, which is full of Mayavadi philosophy. For this I am greatly displeased with him. Hearing the Lord speak in that way, Mukunda Datta standing outside was exceedingly glad that the Lord would at some time be pleased with him. Although he was not pleased at that moment, but when the Lord understood that Mukunda Datta was going to give up the association of the Mayavadis for good, he was pleased. And he at once called to see Mukunda. Thus he delivered him from the association of the Mayavadis and gave him the association of pure devotees. Acharya Gosai Prabhu kare Guru Bhakti tahate acharya bada koe dukkhamati. Lord Chaitanya respected Advaita Acharya as his spiritual master. But Advaita Acharya Prabhu was greatly aggrieved by such behavior. Bhangi kare jnana marga karila vyakhyan krodha veshe Prabhu tara kaila avagyanan. Thus he whimsically began to explain the path of philosophical speculation. Who? Advaita Acharya. And the Lord in his anger seemingly disrespected him. Disrespected him to such an extent that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself started to beat Advaita Acharya full scale with his hands, with his legs, with his fist, with all his limbs. Why? Because Advaita Acharya, he was always considering himself the servant of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was always considering himself to be the servant. He was always giving respect as his spiritual master. So this was the plan which was devised by Advaita Acharya. That if I speak wrong philosophy, if I speak of Yoga Vasishtha, that is the philosophy which is mentioned. So Mahaprabhu will come and show his displeasure. And Mahaprabhu became so angry and so annoyed that Sita Thakurani, the consort of Advaitacharya, she had to come in between and request Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he is an old man. If you continue striking him, he will die. So kindly release him. Krodha Veshe Prabhu Tare Kaila Avagyan. So Mahaprabhu, that means Mahaprabhu is not willing to hear even a tinge of deviation from his devotees. He is so possessive about his devotees. Tabe Acharya Gosai Ananda Hoila Lajjat Hoy Prabhu Prasada Karila. So the plan of Advaitacharya became successful. At that time, Advaitacharya was greatly pleased. The Lord understood this and he was somewhat ashamed, but he offered Advaitacharya his benediction. Advaitacharya was disciple of Madhavendra Puri, Ishwar Puri's spiritual master. Therefore, Ishwar Puri, the spiritual master of Śrī Caitanya Mahaprabhu, was Advaitacharya's god brother. In view of this, Śrī Caitanya Mahaprabhu treated Advaitacharya as a spiritual master because Ishwar Puri and Advaitacharya are god brothers. But when Sri Advaitacharya did not like this behavior of Lord Chaitanya, for he wanted to be treated as his eternal servant, Advait Prabhu's aspiration was to be a servant of the Lord, not his spiritual master. He therefore devised a plan to antagonize the Lord. He began to explain the path of philosophical speculation in the midst of some unfortunate Mayavadis. And when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard about this, he immediately went there. And in a very angry mood, he began to beat Advaitacharya. At that time, Advaitacharya, greatly pleased, began to dance, saying, "Just see how my desire has now been fulfilled. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to treat me most honorably for so long, but now he is treating me neglectfully. This is my reward. His affection for me is so great that he wanted to save me from the hands of the Mayavadis." Hearing this statement, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was somewhat ashamed, but he was very pleased with Advaitacharya. Murari Gupte Mukhe Suni Ram Guna Gram Lalate Likhiya Tara Ramadasana. Murari Gupta was a great devotee of Lord Ramchandra. When Lord Chaitanya heard that Ramchandra's glories from his mouth, he immediately wrote on his forehead Ramdas, the eternal servant of Lord Ramchandra. So just when we went in the Antardip, when we went to Chaitanya Math, that is the place, just near to Chaitanya Math is also the Murari Gupta's house. And Murari Gupta is none other than Hanuman. He is the incarnation of Hanuman. And Mahaprabhu told him that one name of Krishna is more powerful than the 3 names of Ram. But he could not induce Murari Gupta. Murari Gupta came one day, he submitted to Lord Chaitanya and says that my heart cannot accept anything but Lord Ram. And Mahaprabhu became greatly pleased and told him that yes, because you are actually Hanuman. So this Murari Gupta is being mentioned here. And so Mahaprabhu was so pleased that on his forehead, Mahaprabhu wrote with his own hand his name as Ramdas. Sridharera Laula Patra Kaila Jalapan Samasta Bhaktera Dila Ishtavardhan. So this is further down when we went to Simantadip, where the deities of Lord Jagannath, Baldev and Subhadra were there. And also there was that Simantini Devi. So where we saw the temple of Simantini Devi and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Just on the backside of the boundary there is Sridharangan. Lord Chaitanya went to the house of Sridhar after Kirtan. This is said in Chaitanya Bhagavat that when Mahaprabhu went to Kazi's house with millions of people. So after defeating Kazi, after convincing and converting Kazi, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Sridhar Angan, Shiva's Angan, and there is also Sridhar Angan. That is also called the Vishram Sthali. Vishram Sthali means the place to relax. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to house of Sridhar after Kirtan and drank water from his damaged iron pot. Then he bestowed his benediction upon all the devotees according to their desires. Yeah, Prabhupada is mentioning this. After the mass Nagar Sankirtan in protest against the city magistrate Chand Kazi, the Kazi was converted to a devotee. Then Śrī Caitanya Mahaprabhu returned with his Sankirtan party to the house of Sridhar, and Chand Kazi followed them. All the devotees rested there for some time and drank water from Sridhar's damaged iron pot. So Sridhar was so much in poverty that he had only one pot, and that was also iron pot, and that also pot was a broken or damaged pot. The Lord accepted the water because the pot belonged to a devotee. Chand Kazi then returned home. The place where they rested is still situated on the northeastern side of Mayapur, and it is known as Kirtan Vishram Sthala, the resting place of Kirtan party. So what should I do? Should I continue or should I stop? If I stop here, we will be able to sleep in time. Any discussion, any question, any further inquiry? I would request others also, if not daily, then at least weekly. Try to write and share whatever inspiration is coming. Yes, Dolamani Prabhu.
Prabhuji, until unless we accept the Supreme Lord as the Supreme Personality of Godhead in our heart, we should not preach the message of the Lord to others.
Where is it said? Where did I tell you?
Like it's Mayavadi do not accept Prabhuji. So
Mayavadi is because they want to become the Supreme themselves. It is like saying that when you go to medical colleges, you see doctors, and you see doctors who are being trained by the doctors, isn't it? Have you seen or you have not seen? If you go to AIMS, you go to Safdarjung, you go to any hospital. Particularly if you go to AIMS, I have seen so many times that the doctor is there, and with the doctor there are many students who are the medical students. And it is compulsory, the doctor will give them on, on the site training. And many times the doctor is not there, first the junior doctors examine. Isn't it? So it is not so. For whatever extent we have conviction in our heart, to that extent only we will be able to convince others. That is true. That is true. A pure devotee, just his presence convinces others to practice the path. But at our level at New Farche, we have to request and repeat hundreds of times. And still, even if they come, then they run away. But how we will become, how we will progress if we do not perform devotional service? The path of progress is only one, is to perform devotional service. And if you do not do that devotional service, then how you will progress? So this philosophy that when I will become perfect, then I will preach, is bogus. Is in a way Mayavad, trying to avoid to serve. That is very dangerous. We will never become perfect. The perfection is that we are attempting. To the extent we are sincerely attempting, Krishna accepts it. Krishna consciousness is not result oriented. It is consciousness oriented. How much we are inclined to do service. How much we are willing and wanting to serve. That is what Krishna accepts. Prabhupada was preaching in India Prabhupada tried before he went in 1965. You see Lilamrit? Prabhupada was trying to preach right from 40s till 65. How many years? 25 years. Only one person became disciple. No one else. So, if we are instructed, if we are guided, then we should perform service. Where is our view coming? Where is our, thought coming in way? Then we are within Rag and Dvesh. Then it is material. Then it is not devotional platform. Okay. So I'll stop here. It is just 5 minutes to 9. We'll continue, hopefully till God Purnima, if we are allowed. And keep writing those who have been assigned on the various vipas. Yes, Sonika, boliye.
Prabhuji, you discussed about Mukunda Datta today.
Yeah.
So Mukunda Datta was the batchmate of Lord Chaitanya, right?
There are two Mukunds in Chaitanya Leela. One is the Mukund, who is the batchmate, and is a very sweet singer. Sanjaya Mukunda Vasu Ghoshe Adhika. And he accompanies Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu after his sannyas. So among the 4 original companions of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one is this Mukund. And there is the other Mukund who is in Srikhand, who is the elder brother of Shri Narhari Sarkar Thakur. And his son is Raghunandan. And that Mukund is a physician by profession. Okay. So now which Mukund you are referring? You are referring to the batchmate Mukund. So far we have discussed about it.
Yeah. Which the Mukunda was we discussed today. I was asking about that.
Yeah. So what is the question? What is the inquiry?
No, Prabhuji, just clarification I wanted. It is cleared now.
There are many, associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In some parts there are 2% and the name is one. Like we have Gadadhar Pandit, we have Gadadhar Das Pandit. Like we went in Katwa. That Gauranga Badi, that place is developed by Gadadhar Das Pandit. So you will be confused, little confused. Okay, so this Mukenda is a very, very close associate of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never compromises. He never compromises on principles. There are many beautiful pastimes with Mukunda. And once Mukunda and Mahaprabhu were going to Nilachal. So there were many barriers in between, the checkpost. And Mukunda said that what can these Muslims do? They can never stop me. I am with the Supreme Lord. And Mahaprabhu was smiling. It is very beautifully mentioned in Chaitanya Mangal. And in the next post, the Muslims caught him. They allowed Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to go. They allowed Nityananda Prabhu to go. They allowed Jagdanand and Damodar also to go. But they held Mukund and really put him into a lot of trouble. There are many, many pastimes with Mukund. Very, very confidential and close associate of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay, thank you very much. Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta ki jai, Śrī Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Thai God Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. Thank you. On 7th is God Purnima. You all know, na? On 7th is God Purnima. So that day you should, all those who are in Delhi NCR should come and, participate in the Abhishek, which will happen in the evening. So you please plan your week so that you are available.